At that point, if you want to improve, I would just 100% focus on skills, just raw skill. Don't worry about tactics and that sort of stuff. I think raw skill. Once you get up to prems, you can't be mindless anymore. And that is actually when I would shift completely to learning the other side of the game, the tactics side of the game, because now you've got your skills up to a good enough level.
And always eat your bananas.
The very first time I ever tried a lineup, I just missed the first red. 0. You've got to remember the ones you missed. And guess what? The second time I tried, I missed again. I just missed the first red. What would be like the top 3 tips you would give to novice players to try and level up to intermediate?
I made notes on it, actually.
Ooh, excellent.
Just so you
I
know.
love the prep. I love the prep.
I didn't make notes, but I've got 3 things basically. Get coaching of someone that has done it, like has been there, done it in one way. 2, like you got to do drills that are quality drills over quantity. It has to be quality, and you have to, there's no point in practicing for 10 hours. I can show you something that you can do in 20 minutes, half an hour that would rival those 10 hours. And it's quality practice over quantity practice. And 3, basically, play people for something. I don't care what it is, 10 push-ups, do the dishes, $20, play someone, because it teaches you how to get over the winning line. If you can't do that, you're going to be one of these players that are awesome in practice, that can do trick shots and stuff. But the moment the shit hits the fan and you've got to produce, they fall to the water and they're no good. So you have to practice. There's other things too, like imagine that you're playing in a final or something like that, and you've got to make this out while you're practicing. Put yourself under the pressure, like visualize. I did it with world titles. Mark and I, we were talking about, we spread the balls out. I still remember it. They were yellows, a bunch of like 5 or 6 yellows in the black ball. And we both said like, oh, let's just imagine this is like the, 7 first 8 world titles, because we're about to go away to the world titles. We've got to make this, or you've got to make this right now. And then we like all of a sudden get really nervous and we make the out, and then you have to visualize this stuff, and you've got to see it, while you're lying there in bed too. Like if you want to get better, I could write a book about it, about the way I did it from start to finish. And well, not finish, but it's pretty crazy. It is really crazy, but there's a bunch of ways you can get better very quickly. And you got to want it a little bit too. No, actually, this is the most important thing. Positivity. I've had people come in for coaching and they'll say something negative or something like that. And I'm like, you know what? If you're going to say stuff like that, then we're done here. Like, you need to stop all the negativity. I've never said anything negative. I've never shaken my opponent's hand and said, please give me a shot, or, you're so awesome and I'm so happy to play you. No, I want to beat you and I want to destroy you. I could be shitting myself inside, but I'm not going to tell them that. So just positivity is everything, because even if they're joking and they're negative, it still can come out, or they're just waiting for that to happen. So
that's what Jack Whelan said.
So I don't know if there were 3 things there or 7. I'm not sure.
that was 4. You said 3, and then he said, and then positivity. That was really good. He went and umpired one of them last night, and he the whole game was saying, laughing to his opponent, you did one of your flukes again, and like this sort of stuff. And I said to him at the end of the night, you need some killer instincts. Like you can't just be doing that and laughing about it and like convincing yourself during the frame that you're losing because the other guy flukes all the time. Like you've got to
100%.
You've got to want it, and you've got to, and you just lose focus when you're doing that as well, laughing off the frame. There's plenty of things I could say about technique and tactics and all those sorts of things, but the first bit of feedback was just
mental.
Get some killer instinct.
I think my was it the 3 things I had it because you had down there for like sort of Div 2 to 1 to Prems and that. So
I was trying to differentiate just like for people who are watching, like we're talking about top 3 things that novices can do to get to intermediate. So I'm thinking about like not a beginner. So it's not like you've never played pool before. Maybe you play in a league, but you're in a lower division. Pot outs are not going to happen regularly. Like that's not your thing. You're not trying to map 7 or 8 balls. You're just trying to get better at some basic skills, improve your tactical play, to try and maybe get up to Division 1 or maybe even to the bottom of Premier Division. I'm not sure what the other states would call that, but like, you know, you're not playing A grade, you're playing B or C grade, and you're just trying to move up a bit. So that's kind of where you are. And I was saying to intermediate, because in my mind, I was thinking of like the intermediate comps that they have at Slate. That's a higher level than I'm imagining. I'm thinking like a bit below that, or maybe at the bottom end of that. Like you're not going to win that tournament, but you might enter it and get through one round or something. But like that's the kind of level that I'm imagining. And it's, you know, what do you do to try and get to the next stage? And in future, we might do like, what do you do to go to from intermediate to Premier and then maybe Premier to Elite?
I think if you're playing Div 2 in Melbourne Pool, I don't know about the other states. Div 2 is probably about the level where you can run the occasional rack, not many, but the occasional rack. You've got a basic understanding of, you know, when you should attack or defend, like on a basic level. So Div 2 is at the point where you're starting to be able to play the game all right. I think at that point, if you want to improve, I would just 100% focus on skills, just raw skill. Don't worry about tactics and that sort of stuff. I think raw skill and learning how to win, sort of those two combined. And learning how to win doesn't actually mean winning. You can go and play pool and be looking around the room and like Mick said, be positive and just absorbing all this information. You might win 2 out of 5, but as long as you're improving your skills, going in with the positive mindset and having that winner's mentality. So the 3 frames you lost, don't focus on what the other guy fluked or a triple that he knocked in or something like that. Focus on the ball that you missed. Okay, I missed this ball and this ball. Why did I miss that ball? So just focusing on your raw skills, and how you do that is drills. You got to do drills. Mick's got a ton of good drills on his YouTube, heaps of good drills. The 2 I'd recommend is the and the 5 across.
Called
That's
the
all you
mop-up
actually.
drill.
Yeah. That's all you've actually got to do. You don't need to do anything else. Just do those 2 and just improve your skills. And then when you get to, that will take you all the way to Prems, by the way. Just raw potting and just being able to, okay, they've missed the black and you've got 5 balls in the black out in the open. All you need to be able to do is just clear them. That's it. And you can get all the way to Prems easy just by doing that. You cannot have a tactical brain at all. If you've got good enough skills, you will make it up to Prems. But once you get up to Prems, you can't be mindless anymore. And that is actually when I would shift completely to learning the other side of the game, the tactics side of the game, because now you've got your skills up to a good enough level where you can run some racks, you're making outs, you're potting balls, your positional play is good enough. So now if you come and see someone like me or Marty or whoever, and we talk tactics, your skill is here, so we can teach your tactics to come up and match your skill level. The problem is when you're in, say, Div 3 or 4, you're improving at such a fast rate. And then if you're learning tactics as well, they don't line up. So you get confused. You're all out of whack. So I wouldn't worry about it. And the knowledge and tactics side of 8-ball is extremely deep. The higher level you get, the more in depth it is. If I was to talk tactics to even like a Victorian state level team member, I would run rings around them tactically, like with even just in conversation. As they get up to that higher level, that's when you can discuss one shot for a very, very, very long time. Mick and I have had it before. Like when you get to about that Australian level, you can roll the balls out on the table and discuss for 20 minutes. But that's only at that very, very, very high level. Now, the beauty about tactics at the beginner Prem level is the most efficient, amazing shots you can play are the most simple ones. They're very low risk. They're very high reward. I'm talking about instead of going to some silly out, you promote a bad ball and leave the white safe. You just do these very basic things. So when you get to that Prems level, I would focus on that. Focus just on the tactics, on the very basic versions of the tactics and see how far you can go with that. And then when you get up to the point of making like top 20s and state level, that's when you put the 2 together. And then that's when actually things start to get real fun. when you get to that point, that's when you actually learn how much you don't know about the game of 8-ball. And it's a real big eye opener. And I've spent a lot of time with a lot of people at that level, and a lot of people can't actually handle it because they think they're better than what they are. And that's another big problem is people thinking that they're much, much, much better than what they actually are. The amount of times I've had students come over and I roll some balls on the table, and the first thing they say is something like, I'm actually a really good potter and my white ball's pretty good. I need to work on my tactics. And they'll be in like divs 3 or 2. And I'll say to them, well, look, in my opinion, I could probably name about 10 or 20 good potters in the whole state, and that's about it. Good white ball, again, maybe about 10 or 20, and tactically there might be a dozen. So you're not in that group. And then they start lining balls up on the table and they can't pot any. And then they say, oh, these normally go in. I normally make these. So the game of 8-ball is so much harder than what everyone realizes. And the better you get at it, the more you realize how hard the game is when you get into the in-depth stuff. So work on your skills, work on tactics, and then bring it together.
Can I ask you a question? And I've got a follow-up. There's a reason I'm asking as well. So when I started playing pool, I was coached by the late Jack Halligan, legend of Australian 8-ball. And he very early on, like after he kind of taught me some basic skills, the very first drill he was ever getting me to do was just a basic lineup on a 7-foot table up the middle of the table. So I just wanted to ask, first of all, what your opinion on that drill is for someone at the level that we're talking at, who's relatively new to the game. Because I noticed that you guys don't really ever mention that.
With the lineups, I've never done one. I did one for the first time, maybe I think at Robbo's house a month ago because he was talking about it. But I actually never thought they would actually. I thought they were a waste of time, to be honest with you. I've done other drills, maybe because all I wanted to do was play people for money and just get better that way and get a little bit of coaching on how to cue a ball. And then that's what I focused on. Money matches, how to cue a ball, money matches, how to cue a ball. And I did some drills, but whenever I went to Potters, I would spend time just either hitting balls down rails, hitting doubles, just doing something for half an hour and then waiting for Vince Falcon, waiting for Tim Shelton, waiting for Brett Rogers, waiting for anyone to walk through that door, John Matartha, Alex, anyone to come in so I can actually play a money match. That's what I loved. I thought the lineup, having a lineup in the middle of the table and just hitting balls in, I actually didn't see the point of that. And I'm sure there is, but for me, I can't talk about it because I actually never did it.
Well, I've drawn a fancy diagram here.
That is beautiful. That is
Of the
beautiful.
lineups. I feel like it's
How
upside down
straight
for
is
some
that?
reason.
Yeah.
You know what? That's credit. That's credit. Look how straight that
Well,
is.
there's a curve here.
done.
Here's my thoughts on the lineup. It's fine for when you're just potting one at a time and you're just learning how to hit the ball. So you're just learning how to hit the ball. It's okay in that sense. At that level, the pros and the cons are it's very simple. It goes in a straight line. Probably the best thing I can imagine the pros are at a very low level would be it's very obvious what your PB is. PBs are very important, by the way. PBs, very important. I got to 7 balls. I got to 9 balls. Oh, yes, I cleared the lineup. There's that feeling of accomplishment. And, if you've cleared the lineup, even just straight line taking any ball you want, you're at a level that you would probably beat 95% of random players out there. You know what I mean? So it's okay.
Div 3 or something, I reckon.
Div 3, yeah, something like that. Yeah. So what I don't like about it is it can create laziness. So if you're taking any ball in any order, you're kind of just potting this and then coming over here and seeing which ball you want to pot, and maybe this one or maybe this one. In the game of 8-ball, you're pretty much always trying to land on one ball, maybe two, maybe in areas. That's a conversation for another time. So it can create a little bit of laziness. So what I've done with coaching with this sort of stuff, once you've cleared it, then I had a thing where you had to knock in every second ball, or you're not allowed to use a rail and so on. But again, the problem with that for me is if you're at that level where you're starting to clear lineups without trying to use a rail or something, you're now at probably that prem level. And there's far better things you can do with your time for practice. Like if you put in an hour of that, trying to clear the lineups without hitting a rail, if you did that 1 hour on the 2-ball rail drill and 5 across, you are going to get significantly more skill gain out of the 2-ball rail drill. Let's just use that, the 2-ball rail drill. You're going to get way more skill gain out of that than the lineups, because the problem with the lineups is there's no knowledge to be gained. Absolute minimal knowledge really. Whereas with a 2-ball rail, you're really working out exactly where you need to be to play these shots with running side, check side, a little bit of back, stun. Okay, it turns out that when I'm playing a ball in down a rail, when the white's 1 foot away or 3 feet away, the odds of me knocking in and us are significantly more higher or lower. So, okay, I need to take more risk with my white ball to make sure I land within a foot. You're learning so much
you
more.
learn to get better, yeah.
Yeah, you're learning so much more. So my problem with the lineups is I think it's okay at a very low level, but once you get to the point where you can start clearing it.
Yeah. Okay. And now the reason I asked, because I said I had a follow-up. The reason I asked is because, and you touched on this, you said PBs and goals are very important. So I tried to find an 8-ball old notebook, but in case you hadn't noticed, I'm a bit of a nerd. I love the numbers and the analysis of all of this sort of stuff. So I used to keep logs of scores on drills in notebooks. I still do, actually, sometimes today. So I found an old one from snooker. Where is it? Here it is.
Blues.
No, this is actually this is from years ago. The first time I ever did a snooker lineup. And I'm going to call out a couple of things. So this grid format is what I use for drills all of the time. Here, I can see a mouse here. So I go across. So there's a set of 10. So have a look at this. The very first time I ever tried a lineup, I just missed the first red. 0. That's very important, because people they'll say things like, like you were saying before, you normally get these shots in. You've got to remember the ones you missed, as well as, don't fool yourself that you do get them all in. You miss them. So if I miss, I write it down. And guess what? The second time I tried, I missed again. I just missed the first red. Then I got a red and a black. Then I got a red. Then I missed. And as I'm going across, I add up the sum of all of those numbers, and that's this total column. So that added up to 100. And then what was the highest?
So you all of a sudden got a 66 out of nowhere.
Correct. I got a 66 out of nowhere.
Hang on. So all the other times.
Go figure. Don't focus on that just yet. Let me explain what it is. But I've recorded the total of that set of 10, and then the best individual score. And then over on the right-hand side, I've got what was my highest total ever and my highest individual. So they're my PBs, right? Which was 166. Then I did another set of 10. I got a higher total, so I wrote down my higher total. And I did another set of 10, and I got a 77. So I beat my PB individual break. So the reason I'm showing this is I use this for all sorts of different routines where I just have a score that can get higher, and it's a way to track down, am I getting better? Am I beating my PBs? So you can use this, I do this for a snooker lineup. You can use this for an 8-ball lineup. You can use it for any kind of routine where you're trying to score and get a higher score. And I did this for, back when I was 17 years old, I did this with Jack Halligan on 8-ball lineups. And I remember him telling me that one day he potted 363 balls in a row. He'd do the lineup down to the black, come back up, do them again. And I kept doing lineups for years until I beat that score, and then I just stopped doing lineups anymore.
I remember someone was talking about the lineups and how good it is for high-level players as well. And I remember I was at the pool room, and I remember being on 276, and I was so bored.
Yeah.
I failed because I miscued, because I realized I hadn't chalked my cue in about 50 shots. Because and then I wasn't even the chin wasn't even going on the cue. I was basically just playing the shot standing up. It was, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. For me,
that's 66 out of nowhere. I find that baffling. So you can hardly pot a ball, and then all of a sudden you get a 66.
I'll tell you what I think happened. I probably, because I used to vary
Cheat,
my
Marty.
starting.
Did you cheat?
No, I'd say no. Probably what happened is I started varying my starting position. So the ones where when I
Blues
was
and pinks.
missing the first ones, I was probably playing the red below the black, and then I moved somewhere up and into the open.
Yeah.
That's
So you
probably what
You
happened.
put like 4 reds past the blue, just in case you landed on the wrong side of the blue. You got a lot of backups there. Yeah, I see. Yeah,
And
sniping
then
blues and
today,
pinks.
so today what I do, like I went and did some coaching with Steve Mifsud, and he's doing exactly what you're describing. He's clustering them more, so it's much tighter down around the black, a couple below the black, and he's like, Marty, you've got to take them in order. You need to be no point just landing on any red anymore. You've got to take the first one, get a color, and land on the second one. Get a color, land on the third one. So that's much, much harder, which is exactly what you're saying. You evolve as your skills need it to challenge yourself to do more difficult things.
What Neil and Joe Perry were doing when I was staying over there, so of course I started doing it too. Whenever they were doing break building practice, so they'd have a little cluster under the pink, as you normally would in a game of snooker, of maybe 10 reds. Then they'd put maybe like 1 on the black rail, 1 somewhere. So there'd be like 5 reds out in the open. And they'd start with the white in bulk, like in the D somewhere, on a long red that they would normally play and try and hold for the black. And they would always open their break building exercise with a long red, because that's most of the time how it's going to start. So anyone out there doing the snooker practice, don't just put it plumb right in the balls and be absolutely fat. Start with a long red, learn to knock in the long red, land on the black, and off you go.
I remember you saying that actually years ago when I started doing the drills down at Towers. Put the one ball down there, and you actually get very good at playing like a soft drag or whatever, and knocking that in and then landing on the black. It was actually really good.
And the same is true for 8-ball. Like again, if you're trying to get to intermediate level, like we might not think a 5-foot pot is long, but like when you're at that level, you've got to knock in those longish straight balls. So more recently, Jack Whelan's got a really good routine that he does on a Chinese 8-ball table, which is 9 foot, but I've been doing it on a 7-footer with snooker balls where he pots a long red, kind of like, a couple of inches off the rail, gets it into the pocket, lands on the black, clears the colors, and then he adds 1 more red. And you got to clear it. Then he adds another red and you got to clear it. And it gets progressively harder, and he challenges himself to kind of get up to the point where he's using Heyball balls. So he challenges himself to get up to the point where he's got the entire set on the table in difficult positions, and he's got to pot each one of them with the black and then clear from yellow to black at the end to finish.
Well, as Mick said earlier, it's the quality, not quantity. So it's not 6 hours of bashing balls around. You get so much better 1 hour of doing proper drills, and you can make up whatever drills you want. You can. There's going to be pros and cons to a lot of drills. Like I said, Mick's channel's got a lot of really good stuff on there, but you can make up your own ones. I make up my own drills all the time. Make them up, keep things interesting, and all you have to do is try very hard at it and write down your PBs. PBs are so important, and what will happen is you'll get into a drill where you've knocked in X amount of balls, or you've played it for X amount of minutes, and then you realize that you're approaching your PB, and all of a sudden, you know what happens? No one's even there. No one's even home. You're home by yourself and you're doing some drills or whatever, or you're down at the club and in the back corner, because that's where you should be doing drills, in the back corner, not the front door, where it's full of distractions. The back corner, people leave you alone, and you'll be approaching a PB, and your heart rate will actually start to go up. So under no cameras, no money, no tournament, no one even watching, you've somehow replicated a scenario of tournament pressure, of your heart rate actually increasing a bit. And the more you can practice under that pressure, the significantly better you're going to be. Significantly. There's a reason why guys like Tem and Sage and all these guys, you can't tell the difference when they're playing in tournament or practice. They're the same. They're just as good as in tournament as they are in practice. Of course, there are some times where they'll get a little bit nervy. That happens in all sports always. You can see it as a spectator. You can see when someone's a little uncomfortable. But for the majority of the time, when you're watching someone like Tem play, the standard that he brings in a tournament and practice and the shot selection, it's all the same. It's how they've trained themselves.
Yeah. So on that tonight, I did a video which I'll release on Sunday, and at the end, I did the 5-ball drill. I showed them
5 across.
5 across, but I didn't actually do it. I did 1 ball and then said, okay, that's stun, and that's how you do it, and then top, that's how you do it, and then bottom, because I couldn't be bothered trying to do it for half an hour because I actually haven't practiced myself. So I just did 1 ball and then showed them. But the main thing was, even though that's an easy drill, it's still hard. So
Yeah, it is.
what I did was I showed them how to do it and to try it. But the most important thing was I had the black ball at the start. And I said the reason for to have the black ball at the start is when you pot that, and miss, you put the black ball there, and then you set them up again, and you pot that. When you get to the black ball, that's your PB. So you're replicating exactly like what Marc said. So everything that we show you or whatever online or, face to face, or you do coaching private lessons, these things they all make a difference. And it's the reason why, most of the time players like us also get the chocolates at the end of the day because of all these little 1%ers. They all add up.
Yeah, that's great. And that's exactly why I love the data as well, because because you get a bit nervous when you're hitting your PBs. And like in that, in that kind of model, I actually kind of have 3 levels. I've got like a highest individual score, highest for a set of 10. So you need some consistency over a set of 10. And I've actually got pages and pages of those things. So I've actually got numbers for the set of 100. Like, how do they average over 100? Like, I don't know if you noticed on that first page, my average break was 16. And on the next page, it's 17. And on the next page, it's 22. So like, it was just building and building and building.
I remember going back years ago when Marc and I lived together, we were actually doing really hard drills every day. I'd get home from work, I'd do my drills, put them up on the whiteboard, and then he'd come home and do his drills and put them up on the whiteboard. And these were drills that I can tell you now, 99% of Australia would try and do, and they couldn't do in a day. It would take them weeks, if not months, to try and complete one. And we were doing them every day, like 1 or 2 a day. And we had to do them every day. And we were getting them very, very quickly after several weeks of doing it. We'd become so sharp. And then we decided to break down the game and try and learn. Like, it was actually really good, really, really good, so.
But here's a common trap that lower division people fall into. So that the 5 across drill, this one here. So let's say you got the white
That's
there.
beautiful.
I'll set this up for a new student. White ball there, stun shot into here. It's a fairly standard shot. Now, if Mick's doing it and he's playing properly, his pot success rate for doing this drill is probably around the 90%, something like that. Right now, would probably be around more like 3 out of 4, 4 out of 5, maybe something like that. And that's mixed level, world class. Okay. I get new students come over and they'll miss one and they'll be like, oh, I should be making this. And it's like, whoa, why should you be making this? Why can you say that? What right do you have to be able to say that you should be making this shot? Well, because it's straight? No. Do it 100 times. And then when you find out that your pot success is 20%, then say to me, when you miss it, should you be making it? No, actually, when you get it in, that should be the surprise, So do these exercises. You don't have to tell anyone how you're going. And you'll quickly very much learn exactly where your skills are when you can't do 5 stun shots in a row. It's horrifying. I've even had state level players can't knock in 5 stun shots in a row. And the very quick thing they do, they want to move on. They want to move on. They don't want to do it anymore. Marc, I get how to do this one. What can we do next? I'm thinking if that was me, I'd be not moving on until we get this, like we've got to get this. Like it would just drive me insane. But get your PBs, get your scores, and then you're actually going to have almost like a mathematical equation of actually how good you are. Like Marty with his lineups. Marty knows that if he's averaging 16 in a perfectly straight lineup, probably as easy as it can be, and if he's averaging 16, he's going to know why when he's playing pen and snooker, why he's not making a 30 break. When he's in the balls, he should not be making a 30 break. He should not be making a frame winning break because he's got the evidence to prove it.
Yeah, and that's why you write down your zeros. Like so many times I hear people, or they'll talk about shot. They'll say, I should make it, or this is an 8 out of 10 shot for me. And I'm like, I bet it's not. I bet you just remember the times you make it and not the times you don't.
They start their scoring once they actually knock in the first ball. So how in your first go, Marty, you went 0-0? Those are just warm-ups. They don't count them, Marty. They count it for when they
would have
start
started
making a
on the
score.
first time they knocked the ball in.
Yeah, and a good score too, not a 1 or an 8.
You shouldn't have to do warm-ups. There should be no warm-ups. You should go straight into it, because when you go to nationals, it's almost straight into it. When you play league on Tuesday night, if you rock up late, like some people, you just go straight into it. So you should basically, when you're doing those drills, you should just go straight into it. You can do it. You can do 2 or 3 drills and then write them down. But the first drill could be just like 3 reds in the middle of the table, and you just put the whiteboard wherever you want and just knock in 3 reds. That could be the start. That could be your warm-up. But you write down if you missed. So therefore, you're under the pump straight away. Even though there's 3 reds in the middle of the table and you've got ball in hand, that could be your warm-up drill. And then you can write down completed warm-up drill, completed, failed, completed. And all of a sudden now you're under the pump with your warm-up. And it's amazing how stuff like this can actually help you down the track, especially going to nationals and you're sitting down on the bench for 2 or 3 frames or 2 or 3 days, and you get that one opportunity to go and make a difference. You got to go out there and do it. Otherwise, you're sitting back down on the bench watching everyone else play. So you do the work off the table, and when you're out there, it's just another day. It's just another practice session.
Good advice, gents. Thank you. For anyone who's just watched that, I'm going to try and pull some of that together, and we've got a website coming, 8Ball FM. Hopefully, it's out by the time this podcast is out, and I'll summarize some of this and put it on the website, so you can, if you want to grab some notes, you'll be able to download it and just go and print it out, so you've got somewhere to start. I'll even put a blank grid in there on a piece of paper so that you can, if you want, you can grab one of them and just photocopy it, so you've got something to write down your scores in.
Send us your scores once a week.
Send us your scores. That is great. Actually, yeah. If you're
like
doing
that.
some of
That's
this,
good.
send us your scores.
Send us your scores.
That'd be great.
If you're
Not me. Not me. I don't just you guys do it.
Don't be afraid. Like I've put like mine up. I show that, I think I'm a pretty reasonable Premier Division player. Played state level a couple of times. And I just showed you all my zeros. Like there they were right in front of you. Like it happens. People miss.
When I did some videos, say the 5 across one, I did it when I was completely cold, eyes are all fuzzy, and I made it. My version of it is a bit harder. And in my demo video, my official demo video, I think I sent it to you, Marty, I can't remember, that I give to my students, it's got me missing a couple of times, and it's got me reacting to those misses and what you should be doing in the scenario of a miss. And it's got me verbally saying it out loud and how I correct it for the next shot and then execute it properly. So if I can make my one of my official videos that I give to my students, I give it to them privately, of me actually making mistakes, don't be afraid when you send us your scores for it to be ones that you're not happy with, because that's where we can help. If you send Mick nothing but PBs and inflated scores, and these are actually your secret best scores or even fudge scores, Mick's advice to you is not going to be as relevant. But if you send him your scores and go, look, I'm getting only to level 2 in the end game mop up, 5 across, I can do the stuns and top spins, but I can't do bottoms, and actually have your scores, like all these sorts of things. He's got the information there to actually help. So Mick could be there right now and go, okay, well, if you're doing this and this, but you can't do the bottoms, where are you putting the white? Is it here? Is your hand on the rails? Your hand on the table? And then you can actually ask the proper questions to give you the proper actual feedback. So don't fudge the scores. Don't just send your highlight reel of the month. Send in your proper averages, and we can actually help.
We can always get around it by making you go live and showing us really what's going on, and then maybe even if you're fudging the books a bit too much, we'll get you live on the podcast, and then you can show us all these PBs. You'll be surprised when people do stuff live, they can't pop balls.
Oh, that's another thing.
I'll give you a tip.
So
I was going to say a tip for anyone who's doing. A tip for anyone who's kind of doing this, because I've done this at home. It's if you can get your phone set up in a place to record yourself playing pool, that's great. one of the things you can do if you've got a Facebook account or an account on YouTube, you can go live, but you can go live on a private video. So no one can actually see it, but then it's recorded for you to watch back later. And if you want to
Facebook
send
Live
us
too.
Facebook Live, but you can make it private so no one can see it. But then if you want to, you could send it to us. You could say, hey, I got this score and here's some video footage of me doing it. We'll ask before we show it to everyone, but maybe we'll pull out a little snippet and say, here's some that you got, here's some that you missed, and here's why Mark thinks you missed or Mick thinks you missed, and some tips to maybe give you a feedback. Yeah.
Yeah, if you're just going to send videos of you just completing a drill, then there's not the likelihood of us showing it or even critiquing it is just not really going to happen. We want to see the errors, the mistakes, the highs and the lows, the differences of why you scored 10 and why you only scored 2, like where you're actually, where you're going. The other thing I was going to say was when Mick said to go live and then see how hard it is. That's the other little pet hate I have is when people shit can other people playing in tournaments on, Cue Ball TV will be showing it and you look in the chat and people are complaining about the standard or whatever. But it might just be 2 Div 1 players who are, they're just playing in a tournament. All of a sudden they get called onto the Cue Ball TV table and then they go from there and they play and they're nervous. It's one thing doing things behind closed doors and no one's watching it. It's another thing doing it live in front of everyone else. So just probably this little pet hate of mine thought I'd bring up.
We appreciate you putting yourself out there. And if you do that and you're happy for some feedback, we'll give you some feedback. So send it in to us and we'll take a look.
Mick will study it hard.
We might do a little wrap of some results around the world. There was not as much going on this week as there has been in the past couple of months, but I'll just reel off a couple of things. In the ultimate pool, the European Open was on. In the Women's European Open, Kirsty Lee Davies defeated Becky Watkins in the final there for a win, 7-3. Congrats to you, Kirsty. Well done.
Well done.
And in the Open event, Callum Singleton got his first Ultimate Pool event title, defeating Sean Storey 7-3. So well done to you as well.
Good win. Good win.
I haven't seen Callum play, but I've seen Sean play a lot. He's often
Very
in the
good player.
for tournaments. I don't know where he'd sit in the rankings of the world, but he'd be in the top couple of handfuls, top 10, top 20 or something like that. Very high.
Yeah, I agree. He is very well renowned, and I think does get deep runs in a lot of the Ultimate Pool events. There was a Heyball event since we last spoke. The North American Heyball Open was on. In the women's event, excuse me if I get your name wrong here, Watanan Sakratanis beat Wendy Yarns 4-3 in what was a thriller. Watanan is one of the top women's snooker players in the world, so has come across and played a Heyball event. And we've talked about the skills that the snooker players bring to the table. So she's got a win. She beat, one thing I noted was she beat England's Amy Beecham along the way. Amy's one of the top English women's pool players in the world. So very good win there in an earlier round to get through, and she's come away with a title. Then in the Open event, would you believe it, friend of the pod, Jack Whelan, has won his 3rd event in a row, defeating Ruben Bautista 7-3. Well done, Jack.
I love hearing that. So I was going to say I love hearing that because he seems like a really good guy and a family man and trying to earn a living, and it's nice that Chinese 8 Ball's giving him the platform to do that. I guess he wasn't really getting enough out of it from the English 8 Ball, but it just goes to show you that with this Chinese 8 Ball game, if you are good enough, if you do have the raw skills, the knowledge, and also the ability to win, if you have that trifecta, you can actually dominate, which is what he's doing now, it's very encouraging to see those results. Like if you are good enough, you're not going to win everything, but you can go around and actually dominate this game. It's exciting, the thought of that.
I'm looking forward now for Jack to come back down and actually spend some time with him and actually pick his brains now, because of he was on here before, we spoke about it, and now he's going out and doing it even more. So this is what excites me now. Next time he comes down, hopefully, pay him or whatever it takes. It doesn't actually matter. To get that knowledge is everything, so.
And That's a
That's
great
good
point,
stuff,
Mick.
Jack.
Like, I don't know how much money he's won in the last couple of months now. I don't know what the other tournaments were worth, but he might have, including sponsorship and something, he might have made six figures or something. I'd actually no idea. If he hasn't, it'd be close too. So you think about, like, if you want to be in that position. So let's say there's Sean Dempsey. He wants to be in that position. He wants to be going around like Jack Whelan and winning tournaments. When someone like Jack is down here, you get in contact with them and you say, I'm happy to pay and a very good rate, one-on-one, proper. I want 3 hours of your time. If it's $1,000, you go and pay it. All right. You just go and pay it. You pay this money, then you'll get all of his attention. For that amount of money, you are going to get A+ attention. And think about all the money you're going to win in the future from what you're going to gain from that few hours. So find these guys, get proper coaching off them, hunt them down. And if you want to really turn pro and really do well at these things, you've got to pay the price, and then you'll reap the rewards in the long term many times over.
Yeah, you guys might remember Jack when he won the event in Melbourne, showed a bit of emotion and kind of made a sign to the heavens in reference to his family. So he's still, again, he showed that again just after this. I saw the clip of the end of it. And not quite as much as it was in Melbourne, because Melbourne was the first one that he'd won. So, but it still clearly means something to him, right? He's doing it for his family, and just absolutely dominating. Now, there might be a chance for you guys to spend some time with some of these guys. Let me show you this. All right. The World Championship, the Heyball World Championship, is happening this coming week in Brisbane. So Jack will be back in town. Gareth is back in town, and a bunch of the world's best. This is the poster that they've put out. Is there any player in there that looks a little bit different to all the others? Like there's just one has kind of a slightly different look on his face down the bottom there in the middle.
I see McCartney. I see Lily. See Jack.
McCartney's got this. McCartney's got this big grin on his face down there in the middle.
He's
peeking out through everyone else. But yeah,
he looks happy.
The top players from China are coming over. This is going to be a tough event, and I believe it's a short race event. I think they're best of sevens. Sorry, race to sevens the whole way through.
Wow. Okay.
The
reason that they're doing that, the reason I believe they're doing that is because that's the proposed format for the Olympics in 2032.
Yeah.
They need them to be short enough to be able to show in the Olympics.
And the time limit for the match is 6 minutes.
Yeah. I think the tennis is like in the men's, isn't that best of 3 sets? I think. Is it?
The majors are best of 5.
No, in the Olympics.
Yeah, I believe it'll be 3 sets. Yeah.
Yeah. So it seems to be a condensed format, probably across a lot of sports.
Yeah. Yeah. I think
like if you had snooker. Yeah, if you had the snooker, like the world titles is like, what is it, race to 17 or something? You can't do that for the Olympics, can you? It goes for 3 days.
Correct. Yeah.
It's got to be raced to.
You can't have a 4-session match. People want to go. Oh, we've looked at the schedule. We're going to sit down at 2:00 to watch the gold medal match. Then I want to go. It goes for 2 days.
Yeah, exactly.
They need to see it happen, right?
Yeah, they got multis to collect.
Yeah. The other thing that happened this week was in the snooker. Jack Lisowski has won the Northern Ireland Open, widely considered the best player to have never won a professional tournament. He's shaken those shackles off, and he's got over the line. Robbo, you sent us a message about this week. Yeah, what did you think about this event?
Yeah, I just opened up YouTube, and I remember I was actually at work, and I put the earbuds in, and I just chucked something on YouTube, some music or a game or whatever that I like listening to, and straight away popped up was Jack Lisowski holding a trophy and everything. I was like, my first reaction was I was just so happy, because I know he hasn't won one, and geez, he's been so good for so long, and it's got to get to the point where he's probably got to start wondering, is he ever going to win one, And then I thought, I didn't know what it was. It went for 10 minutes. So I thought, okay, it's the last frame. That's good. That's all I really want to see. And I thought, I hope it's against a big, a Higgins or something like that. And I hope it was a close match. It's like, I know he's very, very, very close friends with Judd and 8-all as well, so I thought it's perfect. This is great. And I watched it. Yeah. I don't know if you guys have seen the last frame. It was very nervy from both of them.
Yeah.
But I actually got a little bit. I got a little bit teary eyed. I think when you're a competitor yourself, you
Understand the
know what it's
emotions.
like. Yeah, it's not a game and it's not prize money. Trust me, he was not thinking about the prize money at all. He's just trying to get through that final frame, thinking of all the hours of practice and maybe this is his time and all that. So many things would have been going through his head, and you feel it with them.
What could Jack do now to actually further enhance his game as a player? He's been around a long time, but what could he do now to actually get even better and maybe win a couple more before he finishes up in 10 years from now? Like, where do you go from here? You've just, it's been so long. You just got that tournament win, your first one. Where do you go? You're going to be on cloud 9 for a while. Like, do you hunt down players like Higgins or maybe Neil and these guys and talk about grit and or Mark Williams? Like, what do you do like to get better? Like, I don't know. Just what can you do?
Whilst Mark's thinking about that, I've got a quick comment about two things that changed in relation to Jack. One is, sadly, Jack's father passed away in March, which is one of the reasons for the emotion. Yeah, one of the reasons for the emotion from him at the end of it. His uncle was there, and they embraced, and Jack was a bit teary for a couple of reasons. One, that his father had passed away, and he was kind of trying to win it for his dad. He's very good mates with Judd. But the other thing, I believe he's just started working with a coach. We've been talking about this episode after episode after episode on this podcast about how valuable it is to get someone in your corner. So he has made a change to get someone behind him. Now, that was actually very recent, I believe only 6 weeks ago or something. So it's hard to know that like nothing would have kind of changed fundamentally in his game in that period of time, but maybe just having someone in his corner helped, having something else to focus on, a reason to win as opposed to the fear of losing again. Like maybe that helped get him over the line as well.
But at that level, there's only 1%ers. So maybe that coach coming in changed him at that 1%, or maybe he played a match a little bit differently. And it's at that level, it's only 1%ers that are going to make a difference. It's not going to be 5%, 10%, because they've been playing the game that long and they're already that good. So the coach could have been that 1%, or it could have been that 1% throughout a certain frame that made him play that a bit different. And, and there it is. So it all helps. 1%ers.
Mark, I don't know if you know him, but he's working with Chris Henry, who I think Chris worked with Peter Ebdon when Peter Ebdon won the world title.
All right. Yep.
So there you go. Chris Henry's been around the snooker scene a little bit, so it's that's who he's got in his corner.
Well, I suppose what do you do from here? I suppose like all the three people we've got here, you and me, Marty, we're very analytical. So I would want to know, did I play well to win this tournament, or was I in the right place at the right time? What was my pop percentage? What was my true stats of the tournament? I'm not talking about the stats that we see, like long pot success and safety success. That's all basically rubbish, by the way. I've seen the criteria that they have for that is stupid. The true stats of things. Okay, well, I had the same stats this tournament as my last 20. So what was different? Okay, now I don't actually know his matches. I don't know his road to the final or anything like that. But maybe he was playing someone in the second round who missed a black off the spot to put him out of the tournament or something. Were those things, or were they not? No, actually, I ran through all my opponents very well. I was in control. I outplayed everyone in all the categories. I was just 10% sharper. And this time, all that 10% paid off. Like me, from an analytical point of view, I would like to know that. Someone more like Mick, I think he would prefer to sort of like run with the emotion, go with this. Mick might sort of be sort of like, no, I got up an extra hour earlier and I've gone for a jog, and then there's this fruit stand on the corner, and I eat two bananas and a blueberry, and that's what I'm going to do from now on. That's the formula.
And
But
always
some
eat your
people
always eat your bananas on camera by breaking it off and putting it in your mouth. Never eat it any other way.
God. Why did I say banana? But some people might be more superstitious. No, I wear a dark gray bow tie instead of black. One's different, okay? But the one thing that you don't want to have is delusion. To be illusion, like don't have people blowing smoke up your ass. Don't have people tell you that you played like a freak to win this when perhaps you didn't. You know what I mean? So the thing with Jack is his knowledge is so good. His skills are so good. His break building, he's a truly phenomenal player. Like he really is. There's not really a lot for him to learn with the actual game itself. It might just be the case with Jack of just getting the monkey off the back. I think he's been in 7 finals and hadn't won one. Not to make it about Neil, but I think Neil's first 8 finals, he won them all. So if you compare the two, imagine if Jack had won his first 7 finals, or this was his 8th final, I think, something like that. I promise you now, if he won his first 7, this would have been his 15th final, something like that. He would have done significantly better. So sometimes you just need that little win under your belt. Well, this is a big win under your belt to just complete the puzzle. I can do it kind of thing.
Now, I don't know what his stats were in earlier rounds, but I can tell you the road he paved to get through to the final. He beat Mark Selby, Tepchai Unu, Karen Wilson, and Zhou Long. Like that is.
Wow. Oh, right. Okay.
There are some hard players. Now, I don't know what the matches were like and whether they were high quality and whether one of those players was close to beating him or not. Yeah, that's a good lineup. He did not cruise through against some lower ranked players. That was a big lineup to get through.
I always hold a tournament win in high regard when someone beats Selby along the way. Something about Selby. If you beat Selby along the way, that's worth 3 for some reason. I don't know, man. I just feel like you've really got to be switched on to beat that guy. He's just something about him. He's just granite. If you watch when Jack actually wins, something about his body language was different to anything I've actually seen out of any sportsman.
It was a hug.
He looked like he almost fell on Judd, and Judd's not exactly a big dude, but it looked like Judd. Now I'm not trying to make up something, but it looked like Judd was almost holding him up. Like he just put so much into that final, so much for so long that eventually he finally won. And then it was just this massive release of all the tension and all that pressure, all the weight, all the stress, just left him. You know what I mean? And then he's given Judd a hug, and it was just, he basically fell onto his shoulder. He had nothing left. Snooker's not a game where you're running around like a tennis court or football, or you're not doing 10. But he would have put that much energy and mental, stress on that match that it all just went out at the end. Yeah, it was good to see.
Yeah, it was good to see. Congratulations, Jack. I think we, like snooker fans worldwide, were thrilled to see you get a win in the tournament. Fabulous stuff. Congratulations.
It's good to see the emotion, how much it really means to these guys as well.
Yeah. Agree. Now, Jack was down at 29 in the rankings, so it was actually kind of dropping down there a bit. He's up to 24, but a couple of things now. He gets into the Champion of Champions. On the 1-year list, I think he's up at ranked 9th or something, which means he's almost certainly in the Players Series. So he kind of, a bit of prize money is coming along and a few more opportunities that he wouldn't have gotten had he not won the tournament. So, it's amazing how a win can just open the doors up.
And especially with the rankings, how they are, where it's tournament winners are significantly advantaged, as well as all the bonuses you just mentioned. And it gets you in things like the Masters and that. So he's probably not played in that many Masters tournaments. He's probably had to go through the qualifiers a bit for the Crucible, just stuff like that. Not being a seed at the Crucible it's not as big of a deal as it used to be, but it's still, you don't want to run into Judd or Williams in the first round.
It also gets you on
Yes,
8 Ball
yes.
FM.
It does. Get you on 8 Ball FM. Welcome to have you on here.
Indeed. Jack, get on board 8 Ball FM. Loved.
Here comes the far more likable and attractive Robertson, my wife.
Premium Robertson.
Yes.
So, Super League. I know that it's been going for a very long time, and I know a lot of the players that are actually playing it. Obviously, Susie's been playing it for a very long time. I know she's taken a break, and now she's back and enjoying it. And yeah, she's here to tell us how it's all going.
Susie, give us a bit of a recap of the like who was involved in the finals have just been on. So kind of give us a recap of overview of the season and the format, and then what happened in the finals.
Yep. So Victorian Women's Super League, VWSA, have been going on for a very, very long time, many years, gets played over the full season from February all the way through to October. We've just had our finals now. And we try to get together once a month, but as you know, the pool calendar is crazy. So sometimes it might be twice in a month, or sometimes there might be a bit of a break. And we play at everyone's venues. So we travel as far as Geelong, right down to, Dandenong. So wherever the venues are, we try and make it fair so the Geelong girls aren't travelling in as much. And we play a full day. So it's once a month on a Sunday. We get there at, 9:30 a.m. and we don't leave until about 5:30 p.m. And we play 2 rounds. So we play the morning set and then we play the afternoon set against 2 different teams. And yeah, we play everyone once in the team. Some teams have got some subs, so there might be a bit of rotation going around. And yeah, we play the whole match out regardless of the score. And yeah, it's great. It's a really good event. It's really good there's a lot of women in there that kind of maybe don't want the professional side of pool, the stressful side of pool, and they kind of want to go and, just have a day to relax. You've got all different levels in there. You've got, there's a few state players in various teams. It's points system based on the team. So naturally, you're going to have the state players spread out a little bit more. And, then you've got brand newbies coming in, they're learning how to break still. So you've got a really good mix and it's very supportive. They're really supportive of each other. There's a lot of encouragement, there's a lot of practice sessions. We have Pink Day, which is like for breast cancer awareness, and we do a whole day on, donations and raising money for them. So it's a really good league, a lot of fun.
How many players in a team and how many teams in the league?
12 teams in the league. How many players in my team? 6 maybe, and 2 subs. 7 and 2 subs.
Something like that.
Yeah.
So very much like the EDPL, DDPL combined Premier League, where you'll play 6 frames against each of the other 6 players. Is that right?
Yes, correct. Yep. Yeah. And because we're women, it takes longer. That's why we need the whole day.
And anyone can come at any time and play, as in like a newbie or whatever. Say how does someone get in touch with you guys if they wanted to actually play in the Super League?
Yeah, so I suppose, there is the VWSA Facebook page, which is probably the best way to go about it. You can send a message on there. But yeah, it's not, unfortunately, I suppose this is the same with all pool. There's not a lot of marketing, there's not a lot of advertising, there's not a lot of promotion, in women's sport or especially with pool. So I suppose it's just if you, know a female pool player in the scene, getting in contact with. Bobby Joe is president of the league. Alan Murphy is president of the league and Bobby Joe is working with her closely. So I suppose between the two of them, they're the main people to get in contact with.
Yeah, in good hands. Stuff.
But yeah, we've just had our finals, which was very exciting.
There you go. For anyone who wants to find them, that's the page on Facebook. You can
Yep, that's us.
Jump in there and get in touch.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
So 12 teams were in the league. So what was did you have to finish in the top 4 to make the finals? What was the structure there?
Well, it's actually one of the best formats for fairness and to let everybody have a go. So we actually have A grade and B grade finals. So at the end of the season, we split the ladder in half and you've got, your top and your bottom half. And then the top 4 in A side and the top 4 in B side play off in finals. And then you have your A side grand final and your B side grand final. So it just means that whether you're playing in the lower division, in the lower half, you know, with less of a stronger team, you've still got a chance at making finals. Yeah. And everybody gets at the end of the season, whether it's the A team or the B team, there's awards, trophies, medals. And so it's actually a really good presentation at the end.
Let's start with you, Susie. So what was your team? What was your team's name and where did you finish?
Oh, God, my team's name. Wow, I wasn't ready for that. So
Sounds like me.
Oh, shit. Oh, no. Can we swear? My team's name is called FFS. That is our team name. Because often...
Fabulous.
That's fabulous fairy sunflowers. Mick's trying to work it out.
I'm trying to come up with something witty, but I'm not witty.
No, because it's something that you often say when you're playing pool. So we often when we support, we're like, that's just, we have this weird sort of mumble that comes out when we yell now. But yeah, so we're FFS. We played Seaview Smashers in the grand final.
Oh, you made the grand final. Well, congratulations on making the grand final.
We were going for our three-peat. Yeah.
It's a lot riding on it.
Yeah, we were going for our three-peat. So the interesting thing about Super League this year was they brought in a handicap system. We hadn't had that in previous years. So, I mean, myself and Julie McEwen are quite strong players in our team, and our team has we've got a strong TK Henderson as well, like another state player. So we've got some strength in our side. Sue Jensen, who just won the state doubles with Julie, and and Annalisa Polito, who's not playing anymore, but she made the Masters stateside. So we've got a strong team, and so we won the last couple of years, and this year we wanted it just as bad, but they introduced this handicap system, and it really worked. And, we didn't start off scratch. They started off 3 points ahead in the grand final, and they maintained that lead. We caught them, but then they jumped ahead. We caught them and jumped ahead. And not only just the handicap, but to their credit, they played really, really good. And it was actually, as much as I was sad that we didn't win, I was really happy because the Geelong team have never won. And when you win the grand final, it means the final next year is played at your home ground. When we went through and we were doing the presentations afterwards, actually the captain of Seaview Smashers, because there's a lot of awards for, when you reach a certain amount of frames played. Super League give you a pin, 500 get frames, 1,000 frames, and so on. They also have like the Lynn Rosland memorial, trophy that we do every year, which is for our most heartfelt, player of the season. And then we also have the most improved player based on statistics on how they've improved from the previous year. And the Seaview Smashers captain had astronomical, it was like more than 20% improvement in her stats from last year to this year. So she'd been putting in the time, putting in the effort. Yeah. And so full credit to them. They outplayed us on the day, and they truly brought their A game, and it was actually a great match.
Congratulations to you, Seaview Smashers. Great season. Beat the team that was going for back to back to back. Good on you for getting over the line and winning the Women's Super League. Victoria, well done.
Yeah.
Stuff.
Yeah.
Susie, thanks so much for joining us. What a delight it is to have a very kind-hearted and genuine, thoughtful Robertson on the podcast.
A nicer looking face.
Yes, I'll try and bring a different sort of energy to the other Robertsons in the house. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for having me. That was great.
Thanks,
Sounds
Susie.
good.
Pleasure.
Thanks, everyone.